cameras. 3, 2, 1, action.
I love The Matrix. I've loved The Matrix for 26 years. And when people think of The Matrix, they think of this shot. This might be the most ambitious shot in the history of film. Neo is moving in slow motion while the camera whips around him at a speed that is only possible in the liquid space of the Matrix. This is bullet time. Every once in a while, a shot comes along that pushes the art form forwards, whether it's cinematic language, action filmmaking, or visual effects. Bullet time did all three. And I'm gonna try to recreate it, and if we screw it up, the inventor of the bullet time shot is going to tell us.
If you fail, the stakes are really high for him.
So wish me luck. What if I told you that bullet time was as old as cinema itself? The horse in motion. The first assembly of photographs in sequential order to create a motion picture was made by using an array of cameras set along a racetrack and triggered with tripwire. That's a bullet time rig, before the invention of the film camera. Whoa. But the heroes of the story, the people that take this technique to its full potential, they're not gonna be on the scene for another 116 years. So let's jump ahead. It's 1994, and a screenplay lands on the desk of Warner Brothers executives. This screenplay, by Lana and Lily Wachowski. I have the signature of one of them. I need to get the other one. The script is ambitious. It's visionary. In other words, the executives don't understand it. They're not gonna greenlight it, and they're certainly not gonna let the untested siblings direct it. But the Wachowskis are relentless. This script means everything to them, and they know they have what it takes to make it into the greatest movie of all time. All they have to do is prove it. So the Wachowskis produce a ton of incredible concept art to help communicate their vision, but it's still not enough. So then they use their connections in the comic book world to storyboard the entire script. And the storyboard is a masterclass in visual communication. Every shot is right there on the page. Maybe this will be enough to attract a major movie star and get the movie greenlit. And that movie star is Will Smith. So Lana and Lily meet with the Fresh Prince. They show him the boards. They walk him through the script. They do everything in their power to describe the concept of bullet time with words.
I was like, I'm making Wild Wild West.
The Wachowskis have no star, no green light, no movie. They've been trying to make this freaking thing for years now, long past the point when you or I or any reasonable person would have called it quits or compromised or dumbed down their ideas. The Wachowski siblings are relentless, and they decide to give it one last try. Lana and Lily realize that no one can be told what bullet time is. They have to see it for themselves. So they need test footage, and for test footage, they need VFX artists. The Wachowskis take meetings with ILM, Digital Domain, all the heavy hitters. But the more they talk about bullet time, the more impossible it seems. How would you even move the camera that fast? You need some kind of rocket sled. The inertia would rip the camera apart. They asked Hollywood if bullet time was possible, and Hollywood told them no. Then they take a meeting with a lesser-known VFX house, a small outfit with no high-profile projects to its name. That outfit was Mass Illusions, and the artist they meet with is John Gaeta.
My first job was sweeping the floors in a company that was founded by Doug Trumbull. I swept closer and closer to the camera department until I could get in the door.
He's got a lot in common with the Wachowskis.
We like the same music, like comic books, like anime.
All three are around the same age. They're all Hollywood outsiders, and all three have something to prove.
If it couldn't be done or it didn't exist as a piece of technology, you could literally make it. That kind of attitude was instilled into us by Doug Trumbull.
For the first time, Lana and Lily meet someone who can match their relentless ambition. They ask him if their vision for bullet time is possible, and Gaeta gives them an answer that will change the course of cinema forever. He says,
maybe.
Gaeta's pitch was simple. Don't move the camera. Use an array of cameras that, when triggered sequentially, create the illusion of movement. This illusion was elegant, building on early experiments by Macmillan and Michel Gondry, while also harkening back to the origins of cinema itself, right? The horse. Gaeta got the go-ahead to shoot a test.
Behind our facility, there was a junkyard.
So the Mass Illusions team goes out and buys 27 cameras and sets them up in a semicircle. As their subjects, they've got the stunt guy and a barrel of gasoline. They shoot the test, and everyone gathers around to see the very first version of Matrix Bullet Time. And it's pretty rough.
Oh, gee whiz, we need like 1,000 more frames.
27 cameras is not enough to capture every single frame of the slow motion shot. There's big gaps between each camera. John Gaeta knows this, and he's weirdly chill about it. And that's because he knows Mass Illusions has an ace up his sleeve: optical flow. Nowadays, if you want to slow down a video, you need to stretch it out by adding more frames between the ones that you filmed. There's a couple ways to do that. Frame blending will simply crossfade from one frame to the next. Not a huge fan of that look. But combine that crossfade with warping and you now have what's called a morph. And this looks much better, but it's not automatic. An artist has to manually deform the previous frame to match the next frame, making sure that all the details go where they're supposed to. That's where optical flow comes in. Optical flow will track the motion of pixels over time, and it will use those motion vectors to drive the warp. And now you've got an automatic morph. And the new in-between frames give you clear, buttery smooth slow motion. We take it for granted now because it's one click, but in 1996, optical flow for interpolation was so new that there was only one tool in existence that could do it. And it just so happens that Mass Illusions had special access to that tool because they were using it on the movie What Dreams May Come. John was gambling that optical flow could plug those gaps between the cameras to get his test across the finish line. Did that gamble pay off?
No, it was chaos. You can see some stuff holding together and some stuff melting down.
Remember, everything is riding on this test. So John Gaeta does what any great VFX artist does when he's up against a wall. He brute forces it. So the team at Mass Illusions orders some pizza and some coffee because they're gonna be there late. Piece by piece, they segment out the actor one limb at a time. They stabilize each limb, they bring it into elastic reality, the old school morphing program, and they use old-fashioned morphs to smooth out the interpolation from camera to camera. Then they unstabilize each limb and they rebuild the actor. They add some CG bullets, and this is the result. How did Warner Brothers executives react when they saw this for the first time? Well, we can only speculate, but I have to assume it blew their f***ing minds. A young actor named Keanu Reeves saw it, and it blew his f***ing mind. Whoa. Against all odds, The Matrix gets greenlit with the Wachowskis directing and John Gaeta as visual effects supervisor. The dream team is all here, and they're ready to make history. All right, so how am I going to recreate this iconic shot in 2025? Well, I could rent a volume capture stage, make the whole shot in CG, or I could use a high-speed camera robot. What if I told you that you could recreate this shot using nothing but a personal computer and a couple of these? I'm gonna start with only 3. We're all gonna pull out our iPhones. We're gonna go to slow motion mode. 3, 2, 1, roll.
Rolling.
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 Speaking of John Gaeta, I actually just sent him an email to see if he would be interested in critiquing my shot when it's finished. I watched the behind the scenes of The Matrix 100 times. So he is one of the heroes I look up to, and it'd be awesome if he responded and said, yes, I'd like to be a part of this. So how is this test working? How am I able to fill a 6-foot gap between cameras when optical flow can barely fill a 6-inch gap? Well, remember that humans can't do these kind of morphs manually. Humans can make in-betweens that are coherent images, whereas optical flow would have spit out a smeary mess. So what do humans have that optical flow doesn't? We have semantic awareness. We understand that this is a hand. We understand that this is an arm. We understand that this hand here and this hand here are the same hand, it's just moving back and forth. Because we understand what we're looking at, we can make up a middle frame that makes sense. Optical flow, on the other hand, just looks at pixel patterns and velocities. It has no semantic awareness. But in 2025, we finally have semantically aware tools. In fact, you've probably used them to do something called inpainting. See, what happens there is a semantically aware computer program looks at the rest of the image for context, and it uses those clues to erase whatever you want to erase from the image. So I'm going to hack that inpainting technique. Imagine that hole in your frame growing and growing until it takes up the entire image, but the frame before and the frame after are completed frames. The program is going to look at the context and it's going to use semantic awareness to interpolate a frame that exists between them. And this is the result I got. Trinity, help!
Interesting.
That's with 3 images, 1 for the middle and 1 for each end. I am beginning to believe. Productive Thursday. I just got an email. A very special email from John Gaeta himself. And he's down to be in this video and he's down to look at my recreation and critique it, which is awesome, but now I'm also extremely nervous. I somehow have to take this test and turn it into the real thing. And I'm gonna need a lot more cameras. Meanwhile, in 1997, the clock is ticking. The movie starts filming in just a few short months, and John Gaeta is sure of one thing. 27 cameras is not enough. So Mass Illusions orders 95 more cameras, bringing the total to 120 still cameras and 2 motion picture cameras, at least for the rooftop shot. Because the Wachowskis wrote 4 bullet time shots into the script, and each shot requires a slightly different configuration of cameras. So the rig they build needs to be modular. They draw up some plans, and they send it to a machinist on Etsy. I'm just kidding, it's 1997. Etsy doesn't exist yet. No, they buy a CNC and they machine it all themselves.
Frank Gallego. Those guys could make literally anything you could think of.
And they design and build their own pan, tilt, and roll heads, 130 of them. The result is this insane roller coaster looking thing made up of 10,000 pieces of aluminum. And now they have to break it all down, pack it all up, ship it to Sydney, Australia, fly there, and then set it all up again. And here's how all of that worked. Every bullet time shot starts with a previs made inside a program called Softimage, old school 3D animation program. But this isn't your typical previs to just get a rough idea of the shot. This is an architectural blueprint that tells them the exact position and height of every single camera. The distance between each camera is also important because that's how they speed ramp the move. A greater distance speeds the move up, while a smaller distance slows it down. All of that math is done inside the previs and then meticulously replicated on a soundstage in Sydney. But where do you aim each camera? Remember, Neo is moving down and the cameras need to pan and tilt down with him. So how do you do that? Enter the laser cube.
This transparent cube with the laser inside of it that would point at where every individual camera needed to point.
And they got this data from the previs and transferred it to a state-of-the-art data transfer device called a floppy disk. Yeah, bullet time runs on floppy. All this setup takes days. And when all the tech is ready, it's finally time to worry about the human element. It's finally time to bring in Chad Stahelski. That's right, the director of John Wick was Keanu Reeves' stunt double in The Matrix. The timing between Chad and the stunt riggers and the wind machines and the bullet time team all has to be perfect. See this guy right here? He's on flap duty. It's his job to pull the strings that flaps Neo's coat in the wind. Only once all of that has been dialed in do they bring in Keanu. Years of planning, mathematics, engineering, and it all comes down to one moment. The bullet time technicians have wired all 120 cameras to a single red button, and they hand that button to John Gaeta. He's nervous. He tries to hand the button to someone else, but the team reminds him he's been the one fighting for bullet time, making sure the team was given the time and resources they needed to really do it right. And they all agree that this moment belongs to John. So he takes the button, and he presses it. Today's the day where I recreate bullet time. I need to stay in the air for an inhuman amount of time. So this is my climbing harness, and this is a rope that goes up to the truss in the ceiling. There's some fishing line attached to the tails of my jacket, and JC is on flap duty to make it look like it's windy. Can't forget about the basics of just making the lighting match. In terms of VFX, now you can kind of just film yourself on anything and cut it out, so that's pretty cool. You don't need to have a green screen now, it could be a white cyc. And then I have to get 8 unruly corridor crew members down here. I need 8 people. There's basically 8 people in the office today, and that's how I will get my 360-degree rig. My head's gonna be that way, so you'll be over here. 4K 60, that's great. 4K 60. That's perfect. Let's see if you can do this shot. Line up the shot, okay? So John Gaeta increased from 27 cameras to 120 cameras. I'm going to increase from 3 cameras to 8 cameras. So it's the same thing. The more cameras you add, the more nuanced your shot becomes, and you can commit more resources to it when you know it's gonna work. Yeah, so I'm really leaning backwards like this. Boom, boom, boom. So it'll be something like here. How's it looking? Is it matching? Okay, how about you, Matt? Perfect. All right, you guys ready to try it? Roll phones. Rolling. Rolling. Rolling.
Rolling. Rolling.
3, 2, 1, action.
Sick. Dude, you move like 80. All right, well that was a chill shoot. I really liked how I could just do the performance as many times as I wanted until I got it right. But for John and the team, this part of their story was a little less chill. Did it work? Did something go wrong? Should we try again? Nobody knows because of something I forgot to mention earlier. These cameras are film cameras, they're not digital.
Bullshit.
The film that we used was motion picture stock. So some poor person has to go into a dark room, unload these film canisters, staple them together. It goes through the bath all at the same time. And then you'd get a digital file that you'd have to go, okay, I guess frame 1 is there.
Really? Oh no. This is Kim Libreri, by the way. He is the CTO of Epic Games and one of the co-creators of the Matrix bullet time shot. When the team at Mass Illusions moved to the West Coast and became Manix, Kim was there waiting for those film rolls to come back from Sydney, Australia.
It was a ragtag team in the Alameda Naval Air Station on the abandoned Navy base. Not that different from you lot, like literally making it up.
To dump my footage, I just had my friends airdrop it to me. These guys had to send 122 film canisters via air freight to get developed, scanned, and edited before they could even review the footage. Everybody review and make sure it looks good.
With your recreation, are you using digital or film?
I'm using digital.
Oh my God, that's so much easier. So much easier.
The 90s were wild. I mean, it really makes you appreciate all the modern conveniences that we have today. For instance, all of my phones were shooting video, not stills, so I didn't need to use like wires or fancy triggers, which would have been a catastrophic waste of film back in the day, but in 2025, it's no big deal. You know, I'm still only using one picture from each phone, so now I need to lay out the timing for when I want our perspective to reach each camera. And since I'm trying to recreate the original shot as closely as possible, I'm just going to use that as my timing guide. I'm really standing on the shoulders of these giants here. They did all the work. Now, I'm not going to interpolate the missing frames just yet, because first I need to remove my climbing harness in Comfy UI using a directed instruction prompt. So then I set up a few specific masks that trigger which frames are to be inpainted, and I send everything off to Comfy UI for the actual interpolation. I'll have all these workflows from Comfy that I'm using here in the description down below, and I'll also cover all of this on a live stream on corridordigital.com, so go subscribe. All right, you ready? Run. Let's see what happens. All right, here it comes. Whoa! Oh! Dude, he moved like they do.
If the Matrix were real, it'd probably look like this.
Is this ready to show John Gato?
No, it is far from ready. It is definitely not the Matrix bullet time effect. But Nico, I thought you had semantic algorithms that make sure your in-between frames look good. Yes, that's not the issue. So this is the issue. See how the hands switch positions?
Yeah.
The individual frames make sense. The motion doesn't make sense. Just like optical flow broke at a certain point, so does this. Man, I don't know. I gotta figure this out. I feel like the power is there. The tech seems to at least be able to handle morphing between very different camera point of views. I just need to control how it's doing that morph. And I have to do it in 5 weeks because that's when John comes to LA. The team finally has plates of Neo, Trinity, Morpheus, and Smith all on green, and next they have to key it. The camera lenses in the background won't key, so those will have to be rotoscoped. And this is the 90s, so roto is painful. So is wire removal, so is color matching every frame.
The film cameras. Film cameras are not pin registered. In post, you'd notice it's shaking like this. And then on top of this, it's flickering like crazy. Why is it flickering like crazy? You did use flicker-free lights, didn't you? What? Oh, God. Loads of garbage mats, loads of deflickering. It was hard. It was hard.
All of this needs to happen before they can even try interpolation. So you can imagine their disappointment when they finally run optical flow on the footage and it still doesn't work.
I mean, like, it helped, but there's a limit. I mean, you have fast-moving action, you have fingers. It's now at high resolution. It's got to stand up on a theatrical screen.
The team has pushed their interpolation tools to the breaking point. They'll have to do the rest by hand.
I think that shot took a year. I mean, in post.
So they embark on a year-long journey, morphing, tweaking, and finessing, knowing that they'll never get it perfect. After all, they're only human.
When you make the movie yourself, you see every flaw every f***ing time you watch the movie. Every single flaw in every shot. You don't have doubts in yourself, but you're not sure really what the end is going to end up at.
What do you do when you've bitten off more than you can chew? When someone's put their faith in you and you don't want to let them down? What do you do when you can't overcome the jank? John Gato is coming in 3 weeks, and my shot is not working at all right now. 2 ideas came to mind, and I hope they work, because if they don't work, I don't know, this whole thing's gonna fall apart. And I don't know, maybe part of me also wants to prove to myself that I can still make a sick VFX shot, so I'm gonna try that out. I'm gonna put this plan into motion. There's a way to guide this morph to tell it that this is my right hand and not my left hand, and that is with this character model called a DW pose. If we animate that in 3D, we can force this morph to follow that pattern between those 2 frames. Lucas, you're pretty experienced with Blender, right? Mm-hmm. If you could help me with that, that'd be great.
Yeah, but it's still gonna be a lot less work than the original.
It's gonna be a lot less work. They were on that thing for a year. So while you're working on this shot, I need to figure out how to increase the resolution, because the higher the resolution of the shot, the more accurate the tracking. The problem is that I'm running into a memory limit on my computer, and I can't render at a higher resolution. So I need to get new hardware. I need to build a new computer. I need more VRAM. All right. Puget makes all the computers here at Corridor. Ugh. And I asked Puget to make me the most powerful computer that they could. If you want long videos at high sample rates with lots of frames that are at high resolution, the only way you're going to get that is with a GPU that has a lot of VRAM, which is why I'm glad this computer has a GeForce RTX 5090 in it, which has 32 gigabytes of VRAM. The tools I'm using here are free. However, this is designed to run on NVIDIA. It has the most compatibility, it has the fastest speeds. In fact, they actually just dropped an update that makes their GPUs as fast fast for AI rendering on Windows as they are on Linux machines. So if you want to play with the same stuff, check out an NVIDIA RTX AI PC built by Puget. We've been very fortunate to be sponsored by Puget computers for about 6 years now. I've never had a more reliable brand of computer in my life. They're great for games too, but that's not what I'm using it for. During work hours. I need to give a massive thank you to Puget and NVIDIA for sponsoring this video. Thank you guys. So now I have more VRAM than the Matrix team had RAM in their entire render farm. So last night I started running really intense renders on this machine, and it actually looked pretty good. It worked. So thanks to the pose guidance, the Z-depth passes, and the higher resolution renders, I finally got it working. My arms aren't going all over the place anymore.
I mean, it's pretty much the shot. Once you put yourself on that rooftop, you've got it.
Gotta do some compositing. Now I need to do all the traditional visual effects work of compositing it, motion tracking it, all that kind of stuff. I hope it works. Otherwise I'll be here for days. Like doing the morph took me like a month. Doing the roto took me like 2 to 3 weeks. And doing the motion track has taken me like 2 weeks. Every single step of the way, I'm just running into things I've never had to deal with before. Mr. Gata is coming in 1 week. This is the last hurdle for the Neo element. I'm ready to move on to another huge part of the shot, which is the background. That's right, all of this work has just been for the Neo element. You know, just when you thought the shot can get more jam-packed with technological revolutions, there's another breakthrough happening in the background. Matrix comes out in 1 year, and John Gata has to find a way to make green screen Neo look like he's really on that rooftop. He's got 2 options. Option 1, he could break down the bullet time rig, transport it piece by piece, and set it up again on the rooftop in Sydney, Australia. But remember, that takes days. And the result would look photoreal, but the camera move would not be smooth. It would still need all that interpolation and morphing, just like the footage of Neo did. Or option 2, he could do the backgrounds with CGI. It would be perfectly smooth, but it would not be photoreal, not with 90s CGI. But what if there was an option 3? A way to combine smooth motion and photorealism using a brand new technology called photogrammetry. So just 1 year prior, SIGGRAPH, 1997, John Gata saw the solution to his problem in the form of this presentation by a bunch of Berkeley grad students led by Paul Debevic. Yeah, I know that guy. So how does this new technology work? We all know how photoscans work, right? You just take a bunch of overlapping photos, and then some math creates a 3D model using your photos as textures. It's a fantastic shortcut to photorealism, and it's so easy that now I can do it all on my phone. But in 1998, there are only a handful of people in the world who understand the mathematics involved. So Kim LeBerry hires one of them.
One of Paul Debevic's understudies, George Bushakov, implemented our photogrammetry systems.
George is given around 12 photographs of each bullet time set. He extracts the geometry of the scene, and then he projects the photos onto it as textures. It's not perfect. It needs a whole lot of manual cleanup before it starts to work. But if great is the enemy of good, then perfection is the enemy of greatness. And the Wachowskis have bet their future on John Gata, and John Gata has bet his future on this tech. So to hell with perfection. They plug in the camera move from the previs, and they hit render. The result is a virtual background that is so butter smooth, you never even notice that Neo isn't. This is the key that makes the whole shot work, and I can't even begin to express how revolutionary this was. Photogrammetry would go on to supercharge video games and enable 3D views in Google Maps. And then in 2023, photogrammetry evolved into Gaussian splats, and that's what I'm going to be using for my background. So I take a bunch of overlapping photos, and then a bunch of fancy math reconstructs the scene as a radiance field. I don't have to clean up any geometry. I don't have to retexture any surfaces. All that photorealism they had to fight for in 1998, I get it for free. I even get view-dependent reflections, making it look just like real footage. When John saw photogrammetry demonstrated at SIGGRAPH 97, that's when he knew that a team of talented futurists could pull off bullet time. And when I saw Gaussian splats in 2023, that's when I knew that finally anyone could do bullet time. Technology has finally caught up to a movie that was 20 years ahead of its time. The year is now 1999, and the movie that John Gata and the Wachowskis have put their entire heart and soul into comes out in just a few short days.
I mean, shots are coming in within a week before the movie is seen by people, which is really scary.
We were pooping ourselves as to whether audiences would like this or not.
Once that movie is out in the wild, it is no longer in their hands. The legacy of The Matrix will be decided by moviegoers around the world. So they hold their breath and they wait. I've been working on this project for weeks, and a day before John was set to arrive in LA, I came down with COVID.
A virus
and I'm going to be remoting into the studio to say hi to John and to show him the clip, which I spent 10 hours on yesterday at the height of my COVID infection, just cranking through the shot, getting it done. One thing that this project is really underscoring here, new tools are super cool, and they let you do things that you couldn't do before, but they don't do everything, not even close. And you know, if these tools existed back when they did bullet time, there's still a million things that they'd have to be working on and rigging up and building, because they have to get it right, they have to get it perfect. There's so much work there that is human and is creative and is the essence of making art. I crossed the finish line last night at 11 p.m. I mean, this was a huge undertaking. I learned Blender, I learned a new motion tracking system, I learned a whole new frame interpolation system. I have a functional shot, and John is at the studio sitting on the React couch right now, and he's waiting for me to show it to him.
You all right, or how are you doing?
I'm one day after the peak right now, so
man, okay.
I'm feeling pretty all right.
I'm impressed that you're soldiering through.
So no one else is here to show John the shot. I haven't actually seen the shot either. So I hope it's good, and I hope he doesn't have any tough questions, because I don't know the answers.
So John, I'm going to show you the shot. I'm sorry I can't be there.
It's a good thing you're not here because your replacement could meet an unfortunate end if you fail.
Oh, gosh. Nico, this better be good.
That's right. My shot is not up to snuff. Not only will it disappoint John, but Sam's gonna get hit by a katana.
Yeah, the stakes are really high for him.
Sorry, there's no lead in. It's just gonna drop into it. 3, 2, 1.
Trinity, help!
There you have it. All right, first impressions.
What?
Not bad.
It's not bad.
I'll let him live. Let's see how you made it.
Yeah, I'll pull up a little breakdown here. I was trying to very much follow in your footsteps, but my workflow is a little bit different. We used only like 10 cameras. They're all iPhones. So here's the raw footage. Now, the first interpolation was pretty rough. I thought it could be all automatic. The shots would just flow together, but I ended up discovering the same thing you guys did, which is the hand of the artist has to get in there, putting in that direction. Lucas redid the animation with a 3D model to give us guide layers. Plus, we made some Z-depth passes here.
You chose to have a one with flowing hair, which is also a huge challenge.
You've got lighter hair than Keanu has, so you've got the scattering of the green screen coming through, yeah?
100%. Actually, it wasn't a green screen. Let me show you this breakdown here. I went back to those images and swapped them out with green screen backgrounds and made another interpolation with the green screen backgrounds to give me a version that has a clean edge here. Now I had to motion track it, which is tricky because the geometry is a little wibbly wobbly. Finally, I made a Gaussian splat of the rooftop. Put the smoke in like you guys had, then of course the bullet trails. Put it all together and you get your full final comp.
You even got the little green glow in there. Not bad, not bad.
It's awesome. It's an amazing thing to attempt to do. It takes work and a lot of perfecting, even today. And you know, that's what the art of cinema is about.
I gained a ton of respect for the process that you guys had to go through. And I really appreciate you taking the time to watch it with us in the studio.
It's a noble effort, and it's, I'm sure, appreciated by the people who did the first one.
So how was the reception? Well, I could talk about box office. I could talk about awards and how the team won the Oscar for Best Visual Effects twice in a row. First for What Dreams May Come, and then again for The Matrix.
We got a SIGGRAPH and we're treated like God. It was awesome.
But none of that matters to me because I was 13 years old when I saw this shot for the first time, and I had never stopped thinking about it. The influence that it had on my art, on my filmmaking, on my career, I cannot overstate it, because this shot effectively changed my life. And to everyone that worked on it, I just want to say thanks. Thanks to the Wachowskis for never giving up on your vision. Thanks to John for seeing that vision when no one else would. These artists broke through so many barriers and overcame so many challenges to invent these tools, and now we all have access to them.
You know, The Matrix is more relevant today than it was then. Free your mind and experiment, create things completely unique unto yourself.
Every once in a while, a shot comes along that pushes the art form forwards. It advances cinematic language, or action filmmaking, or visual effects. Bullet Time did all three. And ever since then, I've been waiting for someone to come along and do it again. You know, that someone could be you. After all, the technology is here. The tools are free. All you have to do is free your mind. What effect shot should we recreate next? Leave a comment down below to let us know. You know, big thanks to John Gaeta for participating in this. Go check out his Neo Cinema project, Escape. There's a link in the description below. And I want to say thanks to Kim LeBerry for taking part in this, as well as Ian Fales from Befores and Afters. Last but not least, Daniel, who edited and directed and wrote this video. Big shout out to him. All right, thanks for watching, everybody. Consider subscribing. See you later.